Okay, let's see what news we have for this week. So we'll go as usual straight to Copilot and see what Copilot has to show us for the last 7 days. Okay. So the top news stories for the past 7 days. Number one, the UK approves controversial Chinese super embassy in London. The government approved plans for a large new Chinese embassy in the capital. Oh, MI5 raised concerns about security risks and the need to move sensitive infrastructure away from the site. Ministers argued the embassy will have clear security advantages despite political backlash. If it's not Russia, it's China. Well, I mean, if we don't, I don't even know if we do have a Chinese embassy in London and whether this is an additional one. And now it's become a super embassy. I'm unsure. I don't really care. Not that I don't care about China. I don't mind China. I haven't got a problem with China, unlike many other countries. I think that China, when you look at what China's achieved from where they were and with their people, their population, and where they are now, I think they've come a very long way. And one of the big things that I've noticed about China, whenever I've looked into anything to do with China, is when they make money as a country, they tend to plow it back into the infrastructure of their country, and they're very interested in making sure that their population are looked after and taken well care of. So you can't, when you look at other countries like the UK, like America, who are supposed to be really quite large on the global stage, and we're supposed to be really advanced, we don't tend to look after our populations very well. So we could probably learn quite a few things from China. So yeah, a super embassy in London, not a problem as far as I'm concerned. Maybe we can learn a few things. Probably won't be popular. Oh, Prince Harry returns to court in case against Mail publisher. Prince Harry's legal challenge against Associated Newspapers continued, with arguments over alleged unlawful information gathering. Coverage included live reporting and analysis of the claims and the high-profile co-claimants involved. I'm not a royalist. Not that Harry is royal anymore. I think he's had his title stripped. Not stripped like Andrew has had stripped. We can't call him Prince Andrew anymore because he's not officially a prince. So the fact that we can still call him Prince Harry, I suppose, means that he's held on to that title. But I think he's lost a lot of the other stuff that he had that went along with his status. But I'm not a royalist, and petty arguments over information gathering, it's probably very important to him, not so important to me. Okay, Wolverhampton school incident. A body was found on the grounds. Police investigated after a man's body was discovered on school grounds in Wolverhampton. The school was temporarily closed while police examined the scene. I should think so. You find a body on your grounds, you're not going to keep your school open, are you? Okay. I'm probably not going to look into that. Two teenagers killed in a car crash, others seriously injured. A fatal crash involving teenagers drew national attention, with 2 deaths and multiple serious injuries reported. Oh dear. Heartfelt thoughts go out to the families involved. That's really quite tragic. We have weather again. Severe weather, heavy rain, flooding and warnings. As if it's not usually like that in January and February, pretty much. Okay, weather warnings were issued across the UK as up to half a month's rain was forecast to fall within 24 hours. Some areas experienced significant disruption and localized flooding. I had a thought about flooding. We have taken a lot of our trees away, a lot of our kind of green infrastructure, if you're going to look at nature in that sense. And when you think about what a tree does, and when you think about where they're planted, they there's a lot of uptake of water that goes into a tree and general kind of wildlife. So when we keep cutting down our trees to make way for, I don't know, more urban areas, then there is a possibility that we're cutting our nose off to spite our face a little bit. Just a thought. It's a thought I had last week when we were looking at flooding for last week. Okay, violence against women declared a national emergency. Specialist teams were announced to tackle rising violence against women and girls, described as a national emergency by officials. Okay. I haven't noticed anything on any social media streams that seems to be overtly shown about violence against women. I mean, something to keep an eye on, possibly. Army pauses use of new fighting vehicles after soldiers fall 3. Soldiers fall 3. Okay. The British Army halted use of next generation armoured vehicles following reports of dozens of soldiers becoming unwell during training. Now that I am going to look into. From a health and well-being point of view, I want to know what kind of technology they are using that is causing our soldiers to become unwell. So I'll make a note of that, and I'll do a little bit of a dive, and I'll bring you some more information on that, because that's really quite concerning. We need to safeguard the health and well-being of our soldiers. So they've halted the use of next generation armoured vehicles. This is why I want to look at the technology that's being used. I'm not sure how much I'll be able to see, because they probably won't post very much. The DSMA will have something to say about anything they can post when it comes to the technology that they're using in our vehicles, because obviously anybody who is against the UK could then look it up. So I might not be able to find a great deal of detail, but I am going to look into it. I'll see what that's about. It's a bit unusual. Okay, we have it again. Migration and small boats debate intensifies. New analysis highlighted the fragility of the government's migration strategy after a pause in small boat crossings ended. So we did have a pause. I think it was last week. There was information that it had declined. So it sounds like it's kind of picked up a little bit more. Okay. Budget expectations. Smorgasbord of tax hikes predicted. Smorgasbord. What a great word. Ahead of the upcoming budget, reports suggested a wide range of tax increases may be announced, sparking political debate. Well, from our point of view, it depends on what they're choosing to put more tax onto. If it's going to be in a sense of food bills going up, energy bills rising again, that's going to be an issue. So I will take a little glimpse into where the new tax hikes are coming, and we'll see if that's going to have any impact on our, as a population, our general health and well-being. So we'll keep an eye on that one. London tops the list of world's slowest capitals for driving. Well, I would imagine that's because they've cut most of the driving out in London, as far as I was aware. I will admit I haven't been to London for a long, long time. It's not a place. When I lived in the south, it wasn't a place I liked to visit. I have driven around London a few times and it was horrendous. I hated it. So it isn't a place that I would choose to go. It's a place that if I've gone in the recent past, it's been because I've had to connect to either a flight or connect to a different place through London. So a new report ranked London as the slowest major city globally for car travel, reigniting discussions about congestion and transport policy. Okay. So there are a couple of things on Copilot that I'll look into. A few things that I'll just do a little bit of a dive on, and a few, if I can, that I'll do a bit more of a deep dive on. So that was Copilot. And as we usually do, we'll ask Claude exactly the same question and see if he comes up with anything different or whether he kind of mirrors what Copilot has to say. Okay. We have a major water crisis in Kent and Sussex. A major incident was declared after around 30,000 homes across Kent and Sussex lost water supplies starting January the 10th, caused by Storm Goretti. Freeze-thaw conditions created burst pipes and operational failures at treatment works. The crisis affected areas including Tunbridge Wells, Maidstone, East Grinstead and Canterbury. I sound like one of those train announcements. With residents facing days without water and schools forced to close. Water regulator Ofwat expressed concerns and is investigating South East Water's supply resilience, with MPs calling for the chief executive to resign. Fresh supplies issues emerged on January the 18th when an electrical fault at a treatment works left another 4,500 homes in the Maidstone area without water. I did see on social media Mr. Corbyn coming out and talking about putting water back into the hands of the people and saying that there was pretty much a crisis with our water supply as it is at the moment, and that it needs to come out of the hands of the big corporations and be put back into the hands of the people. Well, water is, it annoys me when it comes to water. I saw something else on social media where somebody was fined for collecting their own water on their own property and using it for their own uses, like so watering their crops and things like that. I'm not sure if that was this country though, so it may well not be here. Conservative Party turmoil. That may be because half of Conservative Party have defected to reform. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch sacked her justice spokesperson Robert Jenrick on January the 15th after discovering evidence he was plotting to defect from the party. This added to the difficulties facing the Conservative Party following their worst ever electoral defeat. Yes, she sacked him because he wants to defect to reform. I keep seeing these memes where effectively the Reform Party is now basically the Conservative Party because it's full of Conservative MPs. Economic news. Oh, we've got it again. The FTSE 100 broke the 10,000 level for the first time since launching in January 1984. Making history on the opening day of trading. Well, we had this last week. However, analysts warned that UK assets' strong start to 2026 faces tests from upcoming inflation and unemployment data that could influence Bank of England interest rate decisions. Okay. The Prince Harry court case, we have that again. Prince Harry is expected to return to the UK this week to testify in his lawsuit against Associated Newspapers Limited, with the trial beginning soon, involving allegations of illegal information gathering practices from the late 1990s and early 2000s. Wow, that's taken a long time to come. So this was, oh, right, okay, so this was back when he was actually in the country and was here as the Prince. Okay, parliamentary activity. Government amendments addressing the family farm tax were considered during committee stage of the finance bill, while the Hillsborough law progressed through its remaining stages in the Commons. MPs also examined strategies for supporting economic growth in Northern Ireland and the role of new industries. Okay, so not really very much. There were a couple of crossovers with Claude and Microsoft, but not anything that I'm really going to dive into and have a deep look at from a research point of view. Okay, and next we have good old Grok. We love Grok for the honesty it comes with. Okay. Prime Minister Keir Starmer rejects pressure from President Trump over Greenland. Starmer stated he will not yield to US pressure regarding Greenland amid Trump's renewed interest annexation threats and links to tariffs or the UK's Chagos Islands deal. He described Trump's criticism as an attempt to influence UK policy. This has been a major political story, with Starmer toughening rhetoric and Europe showing concern over the implications. There's been a lot in the news. There's been a lot in the news about Europe and us really being against Trump effectively trying to buy Greenland. Trump's argument at the moment is that it's part of Northern America, therefore it's part of America, and it was given to Denmark by a president many, many years ago because it was seen as not really a huge asset to America at the time. However, with America waging war on the rest of the world effectively, which it just feels like that's what they're doing, they're stamping up their pressure on different countries, and it all feels like it's in a bid to confront China and Russia. Because I think America is very concerned about BRICS, of which China and Russia are part. And Greenland, bless little Greenland, is in a very strategic place between America and China and Russia. So I think that's the main aim of the game when it comes to what Trump is trying to do. The fact that it has a whole host of rare earth minerals probably doesn't hurt, but I think that's what Trump is trying to do. Will Europe be able to stand up to him? Unsure at the moment. It could lead us into quite rocky movements going forward, but we'll keep an eye on it and we'll see. Prince Harry again. Prince Harry gives emotional evidence in court against Daily Mail publisher. Prince Harry testified in a high-profile privacy unlawful information gathering case against Associated Newspapers, publisher of the Daily Mail. He accused them of making his wife Meghan's life a misery, wanting to drive him to drugs and drink, and claimed journalists were not his friends. He appeared visibly emotional during testimony, part of the group action involving other celebrities. Well, I'm sad that he feels upset. I think if there were unlawful gathering of information about him, then that should be held to account. On the flip side of that, however, when you're born into an incredibly prominent life, as he was and as he still is now, in quite a prominent position, because everything he does will be looked at, everything he and his wife do will be queried and questioned and brought under public scrutiny in some way, shape or form, because that's what people do. But when you're born into that, that's part and parcel of that life. That's part and parcel of what comes with it. But I do think he should hold them to account if it's been unlawfully done. Okay. Oh, we have the mega embassies back. UK approves controversial Chinese mega embassy in London. Now, Grok will probably give us a little bit more information than the very, very well curtailed Microsoft Copilot will. Okay, the government gave the green light for a large new Chinese embassy at Royal Mint Court near the Tower of London, despite national security concerns, protests since 2018, and objections. China described it as fulfilling an obligation. While critics highlighted risks, reports also note Starmer planning a Beijing visit to revive business ties. Now that will piss off Donald Trump. Oh, our Starmer not abiding by what he's supposed to be doing. Not something we'd look into, though. UK inflation rises to 3.4 in December, first increase in 5 months. Inflation ticked up due to one-off factions, according to official figures. This is the last monthly data before the Bank of England's next interest rate decision in early February, with Chancellor Rachel Reeves commenting on economic stability and US tariff risks. Okay, we'll keep an eye on it. Like I said before, with Claude and with, I think it was on Copilot as well, we will keep an eye because we need to know what the tax inflation is going to be hitting at and if that's going to be affecting us as the general population of the country. It will, but whether it's going to affect our health and well-being. Oh, wow. Woman found guilty of keeping a person in modern slavery for 25 years. Mandy Wixom was convicted of holding a victim in slavery-like conditions for over 2 decades, including force-feeding bleach, cleaning products, and other abuse, e.g. head shaving. This shocking modern slavery case drew significant attention. Well, I hadn't seen anything on it across social media, so I'm presuming the significant attention is through the mainstream media. I'm going to look into it because I'm interested to see what the situation was. And to be convicted of modern slavery. Wow. Okay, driving test cheating surged with tech-like Bluetooth headsets and impersonators. Reports highlighted a sharp rise in cheating on UK driving tests, blamed on long waits for practical exams by experts, while the DVSA pointed to improved detection methods. So people are cheating on their driving tests. Can't cheat when they're driving, but this is the paper, isn't it? It's the theory test that they've been caught cheating on. I was really fortunate when I passed my driving test. Eons and eons ago, there wasn't a theory test, and when I took my motorbike test, unrestricted motorbike license, the year before they brought in the compulsory theory test for the motorbike test. So I've never had to do a theory test. I'm sure I didn't do one for my main driving license. I may well have had to answer 3 or 4 questions on a sheet, but I don't remember it being like an intensive test. Do you know it was that long ago? I can't remember. And I'm a bit of an advocate when you get to, I would say when you get to 75, 80, you should have to have a bit of a retest. Just having been stuck behind people who are very old and drive very, very slowly and don't tend to read the road and don't tend to know what they're doing. And I think things get faster, the pace gets faster. So, yeah, I'm quite an advocate of when you get to 75 or 80, you may need to repass your driving test just to show that you're still competent on the road. But yeah, I don't ever remember doing a theory test. But to cheat you need to know the rules of the road. Okay, other notable mentions include biodiversity loss, national decline framed as a national security risk by intelligence chiefs. It's put other notable mentions. I would say that that's really quite important. Biodiversity loss, not great. I'll look into that a little bit more. And you never know, it might be one of those things that's going to be coming up more in the news in the coming weeks. Ongoing debates in the House of Lords on social media addiction to children and potential under 16 bans. Though the query excludes social media focus, this appeared in political coverage. So, ongoing debates in the House of Lords on social media addiction in children. Okay. Various crime court stories, such as murder charges after a petrol station crash and other incidents. Okay. So, from a health and wellbeing point of view, just a few things to look into this week that I will probably come back to you on, but largely not a huge amount that we need to be concerning ourselves with. So, I don't know what's coming up in mainstream media. I hope they're not scaring you too much. But from the, what do they call it? From we're outcasts, so we're alternative media. From the alternative media side, not too much to be concerned about this week. Okay. So that is the news for this week.